Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, always Chad, coming live from my brand new Under the Stairs recording office. Dark danger. Love it. I'm your host, Chad. Joining me as always is Marcus. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man, always glad to be joining you for another talk. It's gonna be a thick one, a heavy week,
It's going to be a very thick
weekend
one.
for wrestling.
Very,
Yeah.
very thick. Um, got to watch a full Stephen Borden match for the first time.
Hey,
He was on that MLPW AEW Ring of Honor joint show that they did over the weekend, and honest to goodness, he's got potential. He is 34, so he's coming in a little old, but he's athletic, he's strong, he's got a sense about himself. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as his dad, but he's got
this
potential,
side on purpose. Yeah.
right? But WrestleMania weekend used to be full of stories like this, full of stories of hot young prospects, up and comers, shows you just had to see. We had Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Chikara and Ring of Honor and sometimes TNA and Lucha Underground and so many others that did live shows on the weekend. When they were in New Orleans in, what was it, 2018, 2017, we had that great TNA and Lucha Underground dual show. The year after that, I think they did, or maybe it was the same year. Shikara had a major event at the WrestleMania weekend. PWG had run some shows. New Japan got in on the action, and it always felt like a fun weekend. Like I've not been a WWE fan in some time, right? It has always been a product that I've ebbed and flowed out of. I was kind of into it in 99 and 2000 and 2001. Then I got out of it. Then I came back really in 2002, 2003. But I was really full boring from 2004 to 2007. And like I came back a bit, what is it, 2016 with the first or the second or the third brand extension. I really enjoyed what we were getting out of that on SmackDown. And it really felt
Mhm.
like my kind of vibe. And then, I kind of fell out of it again. But WrestleMania, and more specifically the modern WrestleMania weekend from about 15 years ago to now, has always been a show or a weekend that I've looked forward to because you get WrestleMania and you get the Hall of Fame induction and you get all these other fun things that that you can enjoy. And now it feels like it's not that anymore. I mean, Ariel Helwani went off on it saying that it feels hollow. That in their attempt to monetize everything, they've taken the heart and soul out of the event. And I can't deny that. That's one of the more accurate descriptions of what we've been talking about for a long time with WrestleMania. Even before TKO took over, was this dry, brittle, uninteresting, unimpressive, you know, major event that is surviving off a name brand alone. And it feels like we are once again here in this conversation where we're forced to talk about a WrestleMania show that, for all intents and purposes, was bad. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Punk and Reigns was really good. Punk and Reigns was fine. It was just better than everything else you saw. I think I did the math, and I think between the two shows, I think it's like, what, 8 combined hours, 7 combined hours, something like that.
Dude,
There was like maybe 2 hours of wrestling all totaled.
dude, there was certain entrances that went longer than a lot, several matches.
Like, why? What has happened? I know everyone's like, well, it's WrestleMania, so you need a WrestleMania entrance. If you're Liv Morgan, you don't need a WrestleMania entrance. If you're Ludwig Kaiser, you don't need a WrestleMania entrance. If you're, Pentagon or Penta, you don't need a WrestleMania entrance. You need a WrestleMania entrance in the main event. You may need one for the other world title match. But like we don't need every single person getting the WrestleMania entrance. That's like giving everyone a WrestleMania main event. That's like giving everyone the same high level main money draw. You're not gonna make as much as Roman and CM Punk. Sorry, Chad Gable. Sorry, Carmelo Hayes. You're not making that much. And I feel like in the same vein, you shouldn't be getting the WrestleMania, entrance unless you're making the WrestleMania money. If you are one of the reasons why this event is happening, why people are showing up, why people are buying tickets, then I think you get to have that kind of entrance. If you're not, sit down. We don't need 25 minutes worth of entrance for a 7-minute match. That's absurd. And I think the thing that is starting to really weigh on people, and they're starting to talk about it, like the WWE fans are starting to talk, not more so than just being squeezed out for the common fan who won't be here in a year. They're starting to talk about how poorly done these matches are. They were talking about the ladder match, and I've heard nothing good about this ladder match. But what I've heard is everyone talking about, I think it was Javion Evans hitting a cutter on Rusev. But Javion had to
Yeah,
jump across the ring, and Rusev had to like jump off the ladder for no reason to get caught by this move. And everyone is like,
yeah,
why the fuck would you do that? And we're also hearing a lot of this with Sol Roca's finisher, which one is going to cripple her. Like, it's going to destroy her body. It's a stupid fucking finisher. But two, it makes no sense because why would I just stand there while you run and jump? And you're starting to see more WWE fans starting to pick apart their own product, which is always a problem. Because when they start picking apart the product, that's when you know things have gone off the rails. And I think they're starting to do this more because you saw the build up to, the execution of, and now the fallout of WrestleMania 42, and everyone's kind of
yeah.
like, this isn't what we signed up for.
Yeah, it's weird too because it's also funny just how closely they are associated with the whole MAGA of it all. Because much like that core group, consistency and willful and confidence is so in their face at the core. To your point, can't even ignore it anymore. These the sycophant fans, the people that are committed to staying on the balls, are like, I don't want to talk this taste anymore.
You know it's a problem when that starts to become the overarching narrative.
Yeah,
Like they bought and sold themselves into this ideology for so long and so hard, and now they're like, I don't like this. Well, yeah, we told you this was going to happen. We all told you when TKO bought the company that they were going to cut costs, that they're going to bleed it for every cent that they had, and that they're going to try to make money off of it, and then they're going to resell it. Everything we said is coming true. I don't know why anyone is shocked by this. And now you got Nick Khan trying to overturn the Ali Act and fuck over boxers. Why would you not think that TKO would fuck over the audience? The UFC did. The UFC's fucked over their audience so many ways from Sunday that even the UFC fighters are talking about it now. This was what was always going to happen. They're going to push fans out. They're going to take, like, apparently, and I don't know, this is probably from Triple H knowing how much of a bitter little bitch he is. They've already leaked that TKO is the one making the storyline decisions to include all these celebrities. Pat McAfee, IShow Speed, Tyrese Halliburton, all these guys have been part of the show as often as they have been because TKO wants them involved because they think it's going to bring in more of a general audience. And I think what they're not realizing is while they may bring in, let's say for just attendance purposes, we got 50,000 people in for night one. Let's say of that 50,000, 10,000 were brand new audience members. They lost a considerable amount of viewers from last year. They lost maybe 10,000 in hardcore fans from last year. Same venue. So if you brought in 10,000, you probably lost 20,000 hardcore fans. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you don't think this is the truth, you're not paying attention. This product only thrives and survives off the hardcore fans. If you don't have the hardcore fans, you have nothing. TNA is still in business after 24 years because they figured out a way to cater to their fandom long enough and hard enough that they stick around. Now,
only they
is
try to not.
right now whether or not that's going to be true going forward, Anyone's
Yeah.
guess. But it is true right now. It's been true up until now. Same thing with AEW, New Japan, CMLL. They've always catered to their hardcore audience. And when you stop catering to that audience and you start trying to cater to a broader fan base, and I don't mean producing your content in a manner that allows a broader fan base to engage. I mean specifically ignoring your hardcore fans for these casuals. When you do that, you'll lose your hardcore fandom. You may get a boost in revenue, just the minorest of amounts, and then you're going to see a fall off. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing the start of the fall off. You're down about 20,000 attendance people in attendance from 41 to 42. Same venue, same city, same everything. But you've lost about what 20 odd thousand people from year to year. Why? I would imagine part of it has to be the fact that you are now catering to fans that don't have the same love affair for this as others. Now, part of the hope is that these casuals become hardcore fans, and you're probably going to convert maybe again if maybe 10,000 people showed up at WrestleMania who were casuals, maybe 1,000 of them will convert to hardcore fandoms. You'll be able to build off that, right? But for the most part, like you're not going to see the a big enough swing casually to warrant the decisions you're making. This isn't 1997 anymore. And you can't expect the fans to explode out like never before seen for a product they've seen a lot. So, unfortunately, this deluge, this overall focusing on trying to milk the company for all it's worth, has had a stronger and more negative effect on the industry at large because this used to be a weekend where everyone showed up. TNA, PWG, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground. You had your minor stuff. You had your Shikaras, your Sendai girls. I think they appeared once. Maybe Stardom was here for a little bit. You had an influx of Japanese and Mexican wrestlers that added a unique viewing experience that weren't normally on this roster or in this area before. Like you started to see a lot of major foreign talent getting brought into this situation, having huge matches, building up their whole general vibes. Minoru Suzuki had like an entire weekend where he was on like every third show that was being produced from Thursday to Sunday. And you got to have so many of these cool experiences where guys were doing different matches. GCW, who's still doing the weekend shows, they were huge, maybe bigger then than they are now. A lot of it had to do with Joey Janela's Spring Break, Matt Riddle's, and then Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. And you had yourself a weekend that had all sorts of fun and whims and everything that came to it. And now because WrestleMania has to be 2 nights, they have to squeeze out all the indies. They have to squeeze out all the not ulterior promotions, but non partner promotions. And now you have this weekend where the only people who are going are the few companies who can make money this weekend, or the fewer companies who are willing to lose money this weekend just for a big show. And the vibe, not just with the indies at WrestleMania, but the show itself is gone. And I think a lot of that has more to do with the fact that WrestleMania is 2 nights and the excitement and the exclusivity and the uniqueness of WrestleMania has been watered down because of the 2 nights. But I also think it's their decision to try to squeeze out the indies from the weekend, which has made the whole thing feel like Coachella for wrestling. And when you do that, you just hurt the
Yeah,
general vibes of the industry and the shows you're trying to produce.
because you made the overall narrative of it all less worth it. Like a lot of people, there's just and you can speak more to this because I know you probably research this stuff anyway. But there's just less traffic going to bake.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever aura it used to have, it's not the thing anymore. I think a lot of people kind of seen it for what it is, been out there, seeing that it's kind of got the bluster for a couple things, but then once you've experienced that, you don't really need to go back, and it's a trek for a lot of people, and it's not that exciting of a trek, particularly when you go on to a show like that that's 2 nights, but for the most part bland across the board, even if it is some good stuff here and there. And it's just not worth it. If you kept those events around it, it at least make the trip worth it because you can justify getting the bang out of your buck. But it's like you're getting banged upside the head for your buck with WWE, who was also cutting out all these other places, which could make the overall weekend exciting and not just one part. That it's like you better off just catch it. You're gonna pay an arm and a leg for a nosebleed, and you can stay in the comfort of your own home, get the same stuff, probably get even more excitement out of posting it up as a reaction, and likely get paid off it depending on how that's set up. And then you won't miss nothing. You won't be disappointed. You won't have to waste gas that what is what $5 or $6 someplace
Some
at this
places,
point,
yeah.
maybe more. So it's like they are looking at the market and doing everything they can to make it worse for the people they allegedly try to cater to, and it's insane. But it's like it's very much indicative of that whole the larger regime that they also cater to. Like it's not about it's constantly talking to the people that constantly effing over.
There seems to be this mentality by the WWE to run in these cities that have a lot to offer. Las Vegas, New York City, San Francisco, LA, New Orleans, which, it was the original home for WrestleMania 42 until for some reason they're like, no, no, Las Vegas is bidding more, so we'll just go with them instead. And I think what you're ending up seeing in these situations is while there might be some people who are coming from out of town who want to go to the casinos, go to Bourbon Street, do the Hollywood Walk of Fame, what have you. Most people are coming to watch wrestling, and it may shock some people, but that's the selling point for this weekend. So when you only have, two 4-hour shows, 8 hours of total option time, and you only have like 2 hours and some change of actual wrestling, that's going to turn people off. But when you're also squeezing out the smaller, fun shows that also have their own draws, their own uniqueness, their own reasons for attending, you harm the weekend even more. And I feel like if you put it in a city like Indianapolis or, Nashville or somewhere where the nightlife isn't the selling point, and you allow other venues to bring in wrestling as well, I think you could have a really fun weekend that, while maybe doesn't net you the same financial success of WrestleMania 41, gives you the same vibe and potentially the bigger payoff long term, like we used to do before we did the 2 night nonsense, the buy one, get one, as Phil likes to say.
Yeah.
See him sell out, whatever you want to call him.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious. It's also fun too. You would think, but this would cater to care of thought and looking out for your fan base, that they would want to bring fans to cities that they would otherwise not either know or be used to expose them to like the deeper culture. Like, I think that's what's such a great sticker point about New Orleans. It's not just like a destination. Like you kind of get immersed in the culture and fall in love with the culture, the food, the vibe, that whole deal. Whereas Vegas is kind of like one of those things where it's like a lot about the name of it. LA is it's the narrative around a lot of these cities instead of getting to the heart of it. So that on top of being basically overpriced long before you even get there, it's insane. And like you said, the buy one get one, trying to get everybody on the. It's like how can you split the event into 2 nights, try to get everybody on the card while making it come off at the same time. This many people on these shows. Well, I feel like not only did you shortchange the audience, but you shortchanged the time that they weren't given. And it's like I don't. They do this incredible juggling act of overdoing it and underdoing it all at the same time. It's insane. It's so sad. It almost comes off impressive by the way they do it.
Almost. Let's go through the card real quick. Talk a little bit about the news and the results of it. The Usos and LA Knight defeated the Vision and iShow Speed. I didn't know iShow Speed was on this card, let alone a heel, let alone a part of the worst stable in wrestling, the Vision. So that was news to me. Jacob Fatu defeated Drew McIntyre in a match nobody asked for. Speaking of matches nobody asked for, Brie Bella and Paige, of all people, defeated the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jackson, Lash Legend, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Bayley and Lyra Valkyra. What really shocked me about this was that Nia Jax was the tag team champion, because I had heard zero about that happening. Didn't know she was a champion until I saw the match. So that's how well they're doing the women right now. Becky Lynch defeated AJ Lee in what was probably her third match back. So, that was a thing. Gunther defeated Seth Rollins by technical submission. Liv Morgan defeated Stephanie Vaquer by pinfall. I don't know why we're still pretending Liv Morgan's the girl. What happened to Julia?
Yeah,
What happened to
she's getting some of the shortest.
what happened to Jordan
Yeah,
Grace?
Julia is having a second slot reign as the Women's United States Champion, which I know is also a sticking point for you with those secondary belts for the women. Jordan Grace is just got cleared off injury, but they are both, as we both know, two of the best women's wrestlers, not only on those rosters but in the world, and they are absolutely getting the short end of the stick. Particularly Julia, it's almost criminal what they're doing to Julia, to the point where I feel like Kiana James is about to break out ahead of her, and she is essentially her sidekick right now. Well, her representation right now on screen. So, Rhea's going to be on the thing now, on that roster now because of the championship. They took two big hits by Naomi and Bianca not being there, but again, it comes down to the booking.
It's bad booking. Speaking of bad booking, Cody defeated Randy. If Cody won, Pat McAfee would be banned from wrestling forever. Cody wins in one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. Randy Orton has been at WrestleMania in a wrestling capacity for 22 years. It's okay to put him out to pasture. He was never the draw that you want him to be. He's always been a one move wonder. And you didn't need to give this spot up for him and Pat McAfee. You could have just said, we're not re signing Pat McAfee. And then, I don't know, put Cody against someone like Gunther who could actually have given him a good match. But instead, we get this slop. And we're not done. Night 2. Elba Femi defeats Brock Lesnar in a squash match, a glorified squash. Brock then leaves his gloves and boots in the ring, signifying the end of his run. Boo-hoo.
Yay.
Putting over Oba, I think, was the only that. Honest to God, that was the only move this weekend that had to be done. So, I'm glad they made that one.
Absolutely.
Penta retained by defeating Javion Evans, Rusev, JD McDonough, Dragon Lee, and Rey Mysterio in a six-pack ladder match for the IC belt. This was the match that had Javion Evans jumping into midair and then Rusev jumping into his arms like some kind of weird, twisted scene out of Titanic. I'll never let go, Rusev. I'll never let go. Dumb, stupid, awful.
That's also a perfect representation of what he came back to do.
Lie down for your boy. Yep. Trick Williams defeated Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn went full MAGA in the Kill Tony stand-up show the couple nights before.
What?
Yeah, he started making some offensive jokes, using some slurs, and then making fun of people for being cucks. People have for a long time said Sami Zayn seems too performative, and yeah, they may have been right. Sami Zayn may not be the good. Then again, his best friend is Kevin Owens, and if you know anything about Kevin Owens, you know all the stuff he thought was hilarious. Everything Michael Elgin ever did to somebody else without their consent, he told Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens laughed about it. So, I'm not surprised that all three of them are just scumbags. So, Trick Williams. A lot of people are like, Trick Williams is a star in the making. I'm like, I've seen Trick Williams wrestle. I've heard him speak. He's a dying star in the making. He's about to go supernova. That's never a good thing. I don't know about you, but trying to say that Obafemi and Trick Williams are on the same trajectory is like saying Randy Orton can draw money like Hulk Hogan. It's cute you want to believe that, but it's just not true. I don't think Trick is that guy. Oba is that guy. Oba is absolutely that guy. Trick's not that guy.
Mhm.
Trick is closer to Randy Orton than he is John Cena. And I don't think Randy Orton has ever sold anything truthfully, aside from some really shitty shirts in 2007. So, like,
Will you? And this is all. Yeah, this is obviously not. Because obviously very happy to see the representation on the screen, but this is not. Be asking Chad this based off of a race thing, also off a talent and standing situation.
mm-hmm.
Uh, where would you put him in terms? Like, do you feel like on the bars like he's like paid for the men for the presentation and everything around it is carrying it more than what people are trying to say it is?
No, because Jade is
Mm.
terrible. We've been giving Jade a pass for like 5 years, maybe longer. I don't remember when she debuted. And we were like, she's growing, she's developing, she's growing, she's developing. She'll get there eventually. She's not there. Stephen Borden, has been wrestling. I think he's had all of 13 matches. He's better off right now than Jade Cargill is right now as a wrestler. That's not a slam on Jade. Here's something y'all will have to deal with at some point in your life. Not everyone is good at everything. Jade may love pro wrestling. Jade is not good at pro wrestling. If you put me in a bodybuilding contest, I won't if there's 10 women and I'm number 11, I wouldn't finish in the top 40 of that competition because I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm just not good at it. I can't hang with people like Jade Cargill. She is a genuine specimen as far as athletics go. Her athletics just
Yeah,
don't translate to pro wrestling. That's okay. That's okay. Trick Williams does translate to pro wrestling, but Trick Williams,
so,
I think, translates to pro wrestling. If we're going historic context, right? I don't know if you remember the late '90s. The IC title scene had Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, Val Venus, Goldust, Ken Shamrock, Triple H to a little lesser extent, Kane eventually. But that was the general gist of it. Chris Jericho and Benoit and China eventually. I would say Trick, not his politics, not his personality, not his overall vibe with the community, but as far as what he can do, I think is right in line
yeah,
with Val Venus. He is interesting enough that he can warrant some love. He's a good enough wrestler that you can put him out there with just about anyone and get some traction with him. And he's unique enough and decent enough that you can get maybe 7 to 9 years out of him as a main roster wrestler, even though he'll likely never get past a certain level. Now, he might find that nth gear, right? He might find that 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th gear and get himself over
yeah,
the hump and into the main event scene. Always possible. They could also
yeah.
just push him into the main event scene, even if he doesn't warrant it or bring anything to it. I'm willing to let both those play out. All that being said, though, I think for what Trick brings, I don't
Yeah.
think he brings enough. He's more about that bombastic personality. Like of if we look at guys like Javion Edwards, Obafemi, Trick Williams, they each have something about them. Javion is the workhorse. He's the spark plug that makes things fun. Trick is the
Yeah.
personality. Obafemi is the total package. Does Oba do anything better than the other two guys? No, but he does everything so well that no one else does as many things good as he does. That's what makes Oba a main eventer. That's why Javion Evans won't be, because all he is that spark plug personality and in-ring competitor. Once that goes, he goes. Same with Sol Roca. Trick will stick around because he can be a middling personality. But I would be surprised, and I'm saying this with all due sincerity, I would be surprised if Trick Williams and Ethan Page ever get past the mid card title scene. That is the current 1-to-1 for each man. So we'll see if I'm right about them, but I'm generally usually right about them. But yeah, I would put him and Ethan Page in the same box. They're charismatic enough to get on TV. They're not charismatic enough to actually matter. And if you know me about Ethan Page, you know this isn't the first time I've said that about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of guys that should have been headliners and weren't, the Demon Finn Balor defeated Dominic Mysterio in a street fight in probably the only match that should have gone the other way. Finn Balor's 46. Dominic Mysterio is trying to become the new top heel in the wrestling world. Having him lose to a guy who is as close to retirement as Dominic is from needing a bath is the wrong call. Especially when Finn Balor, for the better part of a decade, since he won the world title the first time at 36, and then never again. He's been on the downside of his career for God knows how long. You're not going to get anything out of him. He's not the same wrestler he used to be. So why he's going over on Dominic Mysterio is fucking flabbergasting. He's not going to go anywhere after this. So
Yeah,
why have him win?
it's one of the, and I think to your point, you kind of said he basically needed it. Um, I think at this point, and this is the benefit to some Dominic, he can take a L like that because at this point he can oscillate between a main roster and AAA, which is going to greatly benefit him. I think. Um, he's still developing into that heel character and playing certain nuances, and he can. And when all else fails, he could just go back and beat with his dad, who thank God is still moving. Shout out to Ray, who
Stem cell.
did his classic entrance with the popping out the stage, which was really cool to see. But yeah, I mean it's just interesting with Finn because they also did the thing what we have been calling for years. I think we even talked about it when we talked about Willow with Jeff, where if you're gonna turn into this otherworldly character, you need to your cadence, your mannerisms, all that need to be different. And before it was just him putting the paint on, doing the same Finn Balor stuff. Where in this match, he literally tried to act more demonic and this, that, and the third. And that was cool to see, but it's like, how many years too late is it? Like how many, because at this point, like you said, Finn is a certain age, so his career is kind of like they tried to get him out the gate early. It was promising, but once he got injured, he never recovered. And this Judgment Day thing, I don't know if it's hurt him more than it's helped him. But as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, I wonder if he did himself a disservice and not kind of seeing it right on the wall, cutting bait, and maybe heading back to New Japan at some point.
I don't know if we'll ever see him back in New Japan. Though, if they do let Finn Balor go, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in Noah. Because that seems
Mm,
to be Noah's vibe right now, is they're going to bring in some guys with name value who can help bring them up again. While New Japan is heavily focused on the younger prospect types.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Rhea Ripley defeated Jade Cargill to win the women's championship in one of the worst matches I've ever seen on WrestleMania.
Mm,
It wasn't good. And then Reigns defeated CM Punk by pinfall to win the world title. I don't know what the whole point of going back to Reigns is going to do. Reigns was on top for 7 years, and only 2 of them were profitable. Like, we're
yeah.
good. Like, we've had enough. We're good.
At most, what I said was because Punk and well, not Punk, Rhea and Reigns or somebody who obviously the company is extremely high. Two people the company extremely high, and because of that, they aren't gonna go out of the title picture too long if they're consistent on TV. This gets Reigns away from Cody, even though for whatever final reason his ass seems to pop up on every show. I feel like the only reason why he don't pop up in NXT is because they can't do his power up. But um, This gets him effectively away from Cody as he goes to Raw, and it gets Rhea away from Liv to go to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I like foundation is justified in my mind. But like you said, I probably wouldn't have took it off Punk, but that's just me. I think we got some quality stuff out of Punk. I think one of the reasons why his reign went the way that it did because obviously Rollins got hurt. Um, I don't know where they go with him now, but yeah, Reigns is just now he's promising to consistently be there, which is it's interesting because ironically enough, as somebody else brought this up that I was listening to. The whole reason why that world title was created in the first place was because he was hogging both belts and never showing up to work.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he has it now is interesting to say the least. But everybody's favorite long haired Fabio Simone is back in business again.
If they do something with Punk and Cody, that could be interesting. But aside from that, I don't really know where we go from here. Then again, this is why I don't watch the promotion anymore because I think they're terrible at what they do. Speaking of terrible at what you do, Ric Flair. So there's a lot of scuttlebutt around Ric Flair at the moment. Apparently, Ric Flair claims Dennis Rodman, who was inducted, I guess, into the Hall of Fame this year, wanted Ric Flair to induct him. Ric Flair was not allowed to. Ric Flair currently has ties to AEW, but apparently there might be more to the story. Apparently, according to Ric Flair, he basically slammed Ludwig Kaiser for basically no reason. Called him a 24-year-old British kid. He's 35 and from Germany. And essentially tried to paint it like he didn't get invited because he was afraid of Ric Flair and didn't want a 70 whatever year old to beat him up. I think that's just all sorts of trash. Here's the full quote. I didn't get invited to WrestleMania this year. I threatened to beat up Tiffany Stratton's husband last year, and I wasn't allowed to go. A 24-year-old kid being threatened by a 76-year-old man, and I can't go to WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? That English kid, he's going to go as far in wrestling as a gnat. He'll be a fly on the wall in a year. They had a thing where Tiffany made a smart remark about Ashley's divorces. Ashley, of course, is his daughter, Charlotte Flair, which we both know she's not smart enough to have written, so he's already insulting Tiffany Stratton's intelligence. Somebody gave her the script, and then he implied that I'm just, based off of social media once again, which is a lot, that he was implying that he wouldn't mind a one-off with Ashley. And I went, okay, I need your number. I got it, which I can get anybody's number. I want it any minute of any day. I called him and I said, hey, when I see you, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. So he went like a little bitch, told Hunter, and I wasn't allowed to go. He's going to really go far in this business. A 76-year-old tells a 24-year-old kid that he's going to kick his ass. And where is he now? Is he even on the roster? Little punk. So much about this is hilarious because one, it paints Ric Flair as a senile old man. Because Ric Flair couldn't go 3 minutes in his retirement match before he had a heart attack. That's legitimate. Now, it may have been a heart episode, but he even tells people that his heart stopped during his match and that his pacemaker brought him back. Or at least like something to that effect. Ludwig Kaiser, the 35-year-old German who plays El Grande Americano, he wrestles between the WWE and AAA constantly. And he's actually been credited for not only saving the gimmick of El Grande Americano, but making it one of the gimmicks of the year for 2025. And for him to be like, oh yeah, Ludwig went and complained about it, and now I can't go. Well, that's horseshit. You're a 76-year-old octogenarian who drinks too much, lashes out, and does unpredictable things. And you're trying to fight talent because your daughter has bad relationship experiences, makes poor decisions in relationships. And now you're trying to fight active talent because your feelings were hurt or her feelings were hurt. You even said that you got his number without his consent, and then you started harassing him with phone calls. Rick, you're not a scary, intimidating man. You're an old codger who's a problem. You are the drunk uncle, the drunk racist uncle that no one wants at their table at Thanksgiving. They're not inviting you because you're right. They're not inviting you because they're afraid of you. They're not inviting you because you're not worth the fucking hassle. But then again, this has always been Ric Flair. This has always been his MO. He's always thought he was some tough guy. And now at 76 years old, he's having to come to the realization that he's not that guy anymore. He's not. You're not shocked by
Yeah.
this, are you? Like, what's the biggest takeaway though for you from this?
The biggest look, I'm not gonna look.
Oh, by the way, he got his own
As
age
far as
wrong.
he
Ric
got his
Flair's
own
not
wrong.
76. Ric Flair's not 76. Ric Flair's 77. He got his own age wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that's just one more notation. But yeah, I mean, look, a father defending his daughter, what they look, do your thing. Not gonna take that away or what have you, even though she doesn't need it. To the point where consistently in interviews, when she talks about her dad, she always has to bring up the fact that much as she loves him, she oftentimes has to check him on stuff that he speaks way out of line about ahead of things, particularly when it comes to her, that she then has to either check him on and then take his phone about. Um, so even if he does come to defense, oftentimes she doesn't need it. But again, dad over the daughter thing. My biggest takeaway with this was like his need to say that he's Ric Flair. Everything he's been to the business, everything he's done to the business, at every point in time, wherever he goes, the red carpet should be rolled out for him. That is such a indicator of like just where his mindset is. Like that is such a dangerously arrogant, I ain't even say dangerous, foolishly arrogant attitude to have, particularly at his age. And I get it. Look, I think it's safe to say with the worship and the celebrity culture in general that we see, a lot of times that probably will happen with him, not only because of what he meant to wrestling, but overall the pop culture, all the ways he's been referenced as that the third. He's very well known deeply. However, him having the expectation for that to happen only lends itself to just the overall asshole reputation that he's built, which is only worsened in his older age on top of the drinking.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to the little weird thing, like you said, got his number without his consent, called him, made a threat, which this kid don't know that man from a bag of Oreos. He don't know if he's playing or not. Particularly when he's threatening him behind his daughter. So he don't know if he's playing or not. So he went to the brass. Okay, and Triple H probably knowing player better than anybody, he doesn't have time for this. As much deserving flack as he gets, nobody knows how much of a pain in the ass that man is, probably as much as Triple H. So, much to your point about treating him like the drunk uncle at the party, just stay downwind, Rick. We don't have time for this. We don't, of all the stuff that's going on, all the stuff that he has to deal with, wrangling all these wrestlers together, the event in itself, he doesn't have time to deal with you because you're on a old see down prima donna attitude about not getting welcome to an event and threatening actual talent that's on the show. It's just I just think that's a foolish and arrogant attitude to have. But again, it only adds to the horrible reputation that's only worsened as he's gotten older. And it's sad to see, and it's crazy because he's really lucky in so many situations that we've heard about that he's lucky he's still even alive. But you would think they'll come more humbleness with that, but again, the man's bought into his own hype as a as a way that he identifies himself. He don't identify himself with his real name. He's Ric Flair, the character. So it's like you can't do nothing with nobody like that at that.
No, he's too far gone. Speaking of being too far gone, you kind of got to be a little gone to do what we're going to talk about next. A couple weeks ago, there was an alleged stabbing incident out of I don't even know where. I have no idea what the promotion is. Let's see. Maybe I can find this. Now, uh, Ruthless Pro Wrestling. That's where it is. So, at a Ruthless Pro Wrestling event, post show, former MLW World Heavyweight Champion Mads Cruel Kruger was out back with a few other wrestlers. One, I believe, is Ricky Shane Page. And they were doing, normal meet and greet stuff when a fan came up to Kruger, said some stuff, and then Kruger, Shane Page, and apparently a few others got into it with this guy. Big ol' fucking Donnybrook occurs. The story then comes out afterwards that the fan stabbed Kruger. And that was just accepted fact. Kruger got stabbed. Then we start hearing some very interesting rebuttals. That Kruger wasn't stabbed, that this whole thing was made up so that the wrestlers involved could jump said fan. And that while the fan was aggressive to Kruger, according to Mickey Knuckles, there isn't any actual evidence that he was stabbed. The original report said that he was stabbed in his lower abdomen. Here's the. I'm going to read Cage Side Seats. This is the initial update. A popular independent wrestler, Mads Kruger, now just referred to as Cruel, was allegedly stabbed by a fan at an event on Saturday, March 28th. The report attack occurred after Cruel, who is an former MLW World Heavyweight Champion, and is sometimes known as Mads Kruger, competed in the main event of Ruthless Pro Wrestling's Omega show in Berwyn, Illinois. On Sunday, wrestler podcaster Effie wrote to Cruel on Twitter to ask about the stabbing. Hey, they are saying you were stabbed, but you seem fine. Is that because you're cruel or because the stabber was a big custard slop virgin chortling? Cruel responded with, Cruel is fine. Effie is well known in the indies for being of the more pro wrestler, pro work, pro fan, pro all is welcomed type of personalities. So if Effie believed it, I think there's a lot of people who truly did just expect this to be the truth. Fellow indie wrestler Lou Nixon was on hand at the Ruthless Pro Wrestling event and provided details of the alleged stabbing of Cultaholic. Nixon said to the website that Cruel told him that the alleged attacker reacted angrily to him earlier in the night over the price of his merchandise before confronting him to the main event. This guy was a front row during Cruel's entrance. Now he's like a big monster. He walks around. The guy stepped out in front row and stepped in front of Cruel on his entrance, like squared up to him. Nixon said, according to Cultaholic, Cruel obviously didn't break character and made him look silly. And then during the match, I think the guy got knocked out of his seats. Mickey Knuckles provided more details to Cultaholic, saying the fan became aggressive with Cruel at the merch table following the main event. Eventually, the altercation became violent when the fan came at Cruel and allegedly stabbed him in the lower abdomen. Fans and the other wrestlers repeatedly intervened, and the attacker was forced out of the area. Nixon said Cruel didn't realize he had been stabbed until later that night while they were at the bar, and then got patched up. It is currently unknown if any arrests have been made in relation to the attack. There was also a rumor that this fan had been insulting certain deathmatch guys on Facebook and Reddit. I don't know how true that is, but that seems to be the general idea. It was that these guys all had kind of an issue with this fan heading into the show, and that may have been part of why this popped off the way it did. But now we have a bit of a different story. The police were involved, and the Berwyn PD have since determined that while an altercation took place between Cruel and the fan, that no stabbing at the Ruthless Pro Wrestling event last month took place despite earlier reports. So now we have a very different sense coming out of this event. And now we have to look at, well, what else do we know? Well, this brings in Brett Lauderdale. This comes off of the announcement that the Berwyn, the Berwyn Eagles Club, has announced that they are no longer going to be holding pro wrestling matches because of this event, because of this Ruthless Pro Wrestling online event that they did, the RPW Omega event. And then apparently GCW was set for an event there, June 20th, and that has been canceled because they will no longer book wrestling. So Brett Lauderdale goes out and tweets out this was directly caused by an incident, the fake stabbing, that took place at another promotion event which has caused the town, lawyers and police to be involved. It's truly a shame to see the Berwyn Eagles, 20 plus years of Chicago wrestling history, come to an end like this. That's not all. He goes on to say even more on the Business of Business podcast. This is again Brett Lauderdale. I tried to stay out of it, handle the business again. It's not my show, it's not my business. But it became my business. My dates at the building are canceled. And I didn't just have one date. I had others lined up as well that hadn't been announced yet, and it's just not me. I'm new there. We got to do one show there, and we had another one coming up in June, and more later in the year. But there were guys who have been doing shows there for decades, and all because these guys, acted about as stupid as you could. They assaulted a fan. They tried to cover it up by making up a story of saying there was a stabbing. Little do these idiots know, they go around saying there's a stabbing. That made it even worse. That takes it from a story about a fan getting into a fight at a wrestling show to getting into onto TMZ and getting it on local news and getting the attention of police and municipalities. And it's not as cool and funny when the real world starts hearing about stabbings. They don't think it's funny, like some idiots in the wrestling locker room thinks it's funny. And they did real damage here. They did real damage to a venue that's got 20 plus years of wrestling history, and additionally, an additional history in that community. There's more than wrestling going on there. First of all, they assaulted a fan, and then made up a story. I mean, the assaulting a fan was enough. You watch that video, it's ridiculous. I know at first one instinct is from wrestling people is like, yeah, that's what you get for fucking around or for starting shit. But when you see the video and you realize this guy was talking shit, but he didn't even throw the first punch, and then you've got all these wrestlers. They could have just grabbed the guy and thrown him out at the front door, but they all wanted to show how tough they were. They wanted to show how much of badasses they were, and see who could be the one to knock him down. All these guys taking unguarded shots at a fan. First of all, the good thing is that none of these guys could throw a hard punch to put him down, which is pretty fucking embarrassing. Sorry for my language. That was Brett Lauderdale. I don't care. To the fact that the guy standing there taking it all and he walks out, if he did stab somebody, you're going to just let this guy leave? You're going to throw all your punches, be unsuccessful, and then just let him leave? But anyways, let's say he did get hurt. Let's say the fan did go down, and then they all stomp him out and they all punch him, and let's say that fan gets seriously injured when he has to be taken out in an ambulance or go to the hospital or worse. What have they accomplished? Do they all stand there and high five each other and about how tough they are and how much of a badass they are and chant RP dub, RP dub, RP dub? I mean, these are people with real fucking low IQs doing serious damage to the wrestling business. And now they've gone and done damage to a legendary wrestling venue. And I'm sorry, like I said, I tried to stay out of it. It's very clear it's on video, and these guys celebrated and made t-shirts afterwards to celebrate how stupid they are. Tried to stay out of it. It's not my business, but it became my business. And there is video that documents and highlights what actually happened. And it looks like Kruger threw the first punch, and then the rest of the guys jumped this fan. And there had been rumors that the reason why this fan was targeted was because he was running his mouth on hardcore wrestling and deathmatch forums and pissing people off. And if that's why this happened, I think all these dudes need to be charged with some serious fucking crimes, because it hurts the business, it hurts the fandom, it hurts the perception of what we're building here. But Marcus, I think what's even funnier is Kruger was kind of a hotness coming up. Now, granted, he was like 38. He wasn't new. But people were starting to pay attention. His work in MLW liked him enough to put the belt on him. They put the belt on him until they were able to secure Karrion Kross, and then they put the belt on Kross. But like, you don't put the belt on somebody you don't like. So they clearly liked him long enough to put the belt on him. And then he won the independent pro wrestling title or whatever it's called, and he was going to different shows, doing different things, and he was starting to build up some kind of rapport. And then, ironically, to bring all this back to our first topic, on WrestleMania weekend, he went and jobbed out to Mance Warner,
Yeah.
dropped the independent title to him, and apparently isn't being booked going forward anywhere because of this incident. Now we'll talk more about how this plays into the bigger landscape of wrestling and
Mhm.
how fans have become a certain kind of way. But it's
Mhm.
wild to see this happen. Marcus,
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about weird fucking stories in wrestling. Where would this rank up for you? The fake stabbing at RPW.
You know what's interesting listening to you talk about it? I'm trying to see whether I rank it out, and I'll ask you where you rank it. I'm trying to see whether I put this above. You know what? I put this under the Rampage's son incident because somebody got stage left up in that.
Okay.
Um, but it's the willful stupidity of it, right? Like I watched like the both angles on the video because obviously you send me the stuff, and what it looks like is exactly what you said. This was a one-on-one situation between the fan and Kruger. Um, and they got into a bit of a shoving match, and then it looked like the other wrestlers just dogpiled this guy for the hell of it. And like you said, apparently not throwing enough punches to be able to take him down, but it was getting to the point where like people like had to that was either leaving out of the space or was getting ready to leave out of space, kind of came back and was like, "Yo, all right, that's enough. That's enough. Like, what are y'all doing?" Like, so it's weird because the negative perception that the fan would have had for getting in the wrestler's face was overshadowed by the whole situation with was overshadowed by the way the wrestlers acted. Kind of reminds me of what we talked about with the Ricochet situation. What happened when he made that stupid comment to that lady, and then rightfully so called out on him, but then it got overshadowed by the fact that these fans took it too far and started threatening his wife.
You talking about CM Punk?
See, no, it took me back to the Ricochet situation with that tweet to that lady,
Okay, yeah. About the
where the
the
yeah
MS.
yeah the
Yeah.
main offendee was overshadowed by the people because you wanted to just went at him and then he started threatening sending death threats to his wife like just y'all overshadowed the whole point of y'all trying to scold him. So
Hmm.
this situation is just it's stupid. It was unnecessary. Um, Situation like that to your point that you talked about could have gotten a lot worse. Obviously, you have experience around things like this because you work security years prior, so you can attest to certain things the way they could go and whatnot. But yeah, this was just stupid, and it only lends to the negative things that so many people try to do when they try to poo-poo wrestling in general, which we, like you said, want to talk to the larger narrative that just caters to on the bad side of things in wrestling. But this was just bad on all sides, and look what it's done. Not only just to him, to your point, but now a venue, like you said, it's been what putting on wrestling events for what 20 years.
Hmm.
Would rather wash their hands of it completely and try to go through all this. And we know adding the cop element to it, you remember what happened with that whole Jesse Smollett thing.
Hmm.
Um, Cops hate use a bunch of financial resources on a nothing burger. They hate it. That caters to it as well. So it sucks because venues like that are what wrestling kind of need. Because you can't always depend on these big wig companies and whatnot. The industry continues to survive off instances like that, but it also helps to put the industry in the garbage a situation like this pack up as well. So yeah, I mean, you hate to see this because we're gonna talk about like the growing negativity with these fans. But when you have wrestlers in the moment become worse, the whole thing is just a big circle jerk of calamity.
I think the underlining story that comes out of this is also the behavior of fans have gotten so much worse.
Yeah.
You should. So, to be clear, these guys weren't right for beating up this fan. This fan, though, went looking for a fight. And it's not the first time in the last month we've seen this. In fact, WrestleMania was played with a lot of people looking for fights. CM Punk got into it with a fan because they were obsessively videotaping Bailey and AJ Lee as they caught up with one another in the hotel room. And I watched the video. And listen, CM Punk is one of the biggest fucking sellouts I've ever seen in my life. As someone who embraces similar ideologies of Punk, I can't help but see him as a poser. But what I will say is, if my wife and her best friend were having a very just sweet moment where they're catching up and someone was shoving a camera in their faces, I don't think I would have stopped at slapping the phone out of the guy's hand. I would have slapped him. Because, like, what are you doing? Leave people alone. Don't fuck with people. What are you doing? The golden rule is what I live by. Do unto others and leave the fuck people alone. Like, come on. So, like, I don't blame CM Punk for doing that. And then the guy's like, I just want to apologize. I'm not going to get the cops involved. You mean for harassment against two women? Good, because you'd lose that. You were making two women feel unsafe and someone stood up to you. Yeah, you're not the good guy. But then we saw videos of Carmelo Hayes getting mobbed. I don't want to say mobbed, but was constantly under duress as he tried to walk across the casino floor back to his hotel room. We saw stories of Elena Black from TNA, who apparently had a guy grope her ass during a photo shoot. And these are just three of the stories we know of. Apparently, there was more reports about people being just, unbothered by social convention and norms during WrestleMania weekend. We joke every time there's a convention. Hey guys, wear deodorant. The joke shouldn't be more serious, and it shouldn't be, hey guys, don't grope the talent. Like, I don't get why fans feel they have the right, to do the things they do. Now again, to reiterate, Cruel and the rest of the, RPW guys should not have attacked a fan who did not attack them. But on the other hand, this fan was looking for a fight, and I just want to know why fans think they have a right to look for a fight with talent. Because he's not the only one. We saw this whole weekend of WrestleMania. Talent fans thinking that they are as important as talent. The Brock Lesnar guy, who was a funny meme 14 years ago, is now actually trying to make himself into like a serious personality in the wrestling space. Talking about how he doesn't know how he's going to be able to move on from Brock Lesnar's retirement. He did like this whole thing like, I'm done attending WWE shows, and he put like a fucking shirt on the back of a chair and walked away like he was retiring. And then he came back. I'm like, social media has made you think you're relevant. You're not. You can have a voice in the space, but it will never occupy the space of the talent that produced the space itself. Everything we do is ancillary. It is bare minimum. It is the lowest possible and that's part of the issue. Like, I know where you and I sit, right? We don't sit too far anywhere else from guys like Sean Ross, Sapp, Dave Meltzer, what have you, as far as our influence in this space. We are all at the bottom of the barrel. The lowest of the rungs are where we sit. We know that, though. Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer. I think Dave Meltzer knows that. Sean Ross Sapp doesn't. It's why he tries to be a personality as a news agency, and it's why people hate him. Because he's trying to be two things at once. You can be us. We don't break news. We don't break news. We tell you how we feel. or you can break news, in which case your opinions don't fucking matter. You can't do both. Not successfully. Not without incurring the wrath of both sides of that line. And I feel like too many times, right? I feel like too many fans decide that they are more important than they actually are. And they start doing this kind of shit. And then they're shocked when there are negative consequences. Wrestling needs to get their heads out of their ass. You can't be beating up fans, especially when they don't start anything. And you can't be assaulting wrestlers and groping them and harassing them like you're some type of victim. You're not the victim.
Yeah.
You're the victimizer. Is we
Yeah, it's it's just unfortunate. You're 100% correct. That fan was definitely looking for a fight. He got an over answer to that inquiry. Uh, and whoever that a hole was that groped Elena Black, um, I hope he suffers some kind of consequence. Obviously, shout out to AC Navarro, who apparently was like you said was late to the situation about a few minutes, but as soon as he got alerted to it, very much escorted the fan out. Um, they probably obviously could have did more than that, but it's just unfortunate, man, because a lot of these performers, regardless of how we feel about their talent, they are people, they are human, and the fact that they go out here and try to be um, social with their fans and open to their fans and give them some type of experience that they have to worry about their personal safety. Um, and is to your the point, it just feeds this larger monster because the wrestlers need the fans for the events, uh, and obviously the fans need the wrestlers, for the entertainment value, and it's a synergy there. But it's decaying because this bad energy going both ways. It's bad. Uh, what you always say is bad. Faith actors on both sides type of deal, and you got wrestlers that are too high on their own supply, fans that are on the same kick, and then you got these journalists or these alleged professionals in the space that are very much thinking they bigger than the program, and a lot of these guys are, like you said, supposed to be just disseminating news in a very credible way, but then are getting mixed up in these social media situations, so they're becoming these monsters in their own ways, and then become these douchebags. They take these moral high grounds over people that they end up crumbling beneath their feet because they end up performing just as crappy behavior as some of these overly obsessed fans that are just spiraled into these parasocial relationships that make them feel like as soon as they see one of these individuals that they've seen on TV, that they're owed something from them because they feel like they've been, I don't know, funding these individuals' lives, or they put more emotional investment into these individuals than the company has, or some whatever weird justification they come up with when they have these horrible interactions with these individuals. It's not good. Like you said, people need to get their head out their ass on both sides. And I don't know how this. I don't know where we go with this because it's only going to get worse. With access. I don't know how things go over the weekend. Maybe you could put me in on this. So the wrestlers have to go in the same hotel as fans. Or do they get like a separate? Or can they get like a separate hotel just for the wrestlers? But the fans just kind of come and hang out in the lobbies anyway.
I think going forward, that has to be the focus. I know times in the past, they've had wrestlers and fans in the same hotels. Sometimes they would have more than one hotel, but oftentimes they would have them in the same hotels. I think going forward, they either need to separate them or have so much security there, which Las Vegas did not have. And I saw someone say, well, it's because they don't want to work. No, it's because they don't want to work for free. There's no money in Las Vegas right now. The current administration has killed tourism in this country. The number one city that relied on tourism more than any other city, more than any other two cities combined, has been Las Vegas. You kill the ability for international travel. You kill the ability for disposable income. which is what this administrative has done, whether you want to believe that or not. And the first thing to get hit is the one city that relies on international tourism and disposable income. Without those two things, this city is lifeless. And without money coming in, there's no money to pay people. So jobs get laid off. There's no security in this city because they don't have the money to afford the security anymore. And because of that, now you have these incidents popping up more frequently than not because there's just not enough security to protect fans from wrestlers. And if the WWE, which we know they won't because they're trying to nickel and dime, penny pinch everything they're trying to do, they're not going to provide more security themselves. So going forward, you have to make it so that you rent out entire hotels for you and your crew only. Otherwise, this will just keep happening. So I don't know if that answered your question. But.
Yes. No, no, I'm glad you absolutely. Like you said, if something's not done and that really needs to be done. I don't know if that happens with other um entertainment fields with NBA stars, football stars, maybe in certain instances a lot of those fans end up just getting priced out of those hotels because a lot of those hotels can charge certain premiums because they know depending on how they have they bed, they rooms laid out, whatnot, the higher price athletes are gonna come in anyway. But with this was, not the case. Like I said, there's so many videos that came out over the weekend. You can tell that so many of the performers are just completely soured on Vegas at this point. Um, so and I would imagine Saudi's gonna be a complete disaster next year if it even happens.
Right, I should put if they even go, because with the way
Yeah,
this war with Iran is going, this is not going to be a good thing for them. This is not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. It's going to destabilize a region that was already pretty destabilized. And
yeah,
Saudi Arabia is one of the few countries, basically through blood and slave labor, but it's one of the few countries out there that is stable. All this
mhm,
changes that. And if I'm someone like CM Punk or Sami Zayn, which nowadays I don't think they have a shred of credibility to their name, but I'd be like, I'm not
yeah,
going to a war torn region to perform for billionaire princes who kill people. No, thank you. No, no, thank you. That would not be something I would like to do.
yeah.
Marcus, any
That
final thoughts on this week's show?
no, let's see if anything sideline happened. Did you watch any of the Hall of Fame? Did you like any of the moments, any of the inductees?
I didn't watch shit. I don't even know
Yeah,
who got inducted
me.
this year. Honest to God,
Yeah, yeah.
I heard
Congrats. Yeah.
I heard that they did Sid Vicious dirty, and Sid's son, who I think was Sid. No, I think it was Vader's son. I'm confused.
Yeah.
Sid's son was very unhappy with how his father was treated. I do think Sid Vicious's son was a wrestler for a little bit. I just don't think it was with the with WWE.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah. Too. Um, that sucks. That they need to do something better with that event too, because that event being almost as long as Mania for those individuals before they have to perform the next day is insane. They need to do something better with that. Um, congrats to AJ Styles. Um, it was cool for him that Steve Frankie and I think the Motor City Machine Guns got to come out with him. Um, I got to be there for him. That was cool. And congrats to Bianca Belair on being a mother to be.
yeah,
So that was one bright moment of the show. But other than that,
didn't we already
uh,
know that though?
there have been rumblings about it because she's obviously been dealing with this long-standing finger issue that she's been dealing with. Uh, but I know obviously now it's confirmed. Speaking of things that are confirmed, I feel like it may have been loosely being listened to last week because lockdown's coming back.
That is that was one of the cooler announcements from this weekend was that the return of lockdown is happening. I and all the every match is going to be inside a steel cage. And I hope they're going to
Hmm.
do it like they used to, where they would have like 13 different match types for all 13 matches, or 7 match types for all 7 matches, whatever. Because like that would be dope. the 2005 lockdown is still one of my favorite lockdowns because it really embraced the concept of gimmick within a gimmick, and it worked. You
Yeah.
know, the match with Jeff Hardy and I think it was Raven, it was a tables match inside a steel cage. How dope is that? How dope is that? That's so cool. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
man. I mean,
hopefully we get that again.
yeah, it was just cool. So I feel like we basically booked the event, did like a shadow booking of the event, and then it got announced like that, and it was cool. And it's also cool to see that they're gonna have some good time with these announcements to for both lockdown and what is coming up, well, Slammiversary. I think they announced.
Slammiversary is coming, I think,
Um,
at the end of June.
yeah, so a good healthy amount of promotion and build up time for that. So yeah, that's cool. I think well the last time they did the event was 2011 for lockdown with those horrendous posters that they did.
No, the last time they did it was 2014 on pay per view. And
Okay.
then, but that was the horrendous paper, the posters, because that was the Nick Aldis steel cage.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man,
that was
those are
definitely
the
sometime in 2014. So
yeah. Yeah, it's very good. But yeah, like I said, maybe we being loosely listened to, but I'm glad that that happened and what it did. Very much looking forward to that. And yeah, that's about it. Anybody that's on social media, please don't try to go back and forth with Chad about notoriety or relevance of people like Sting. It's a no running situation, please.
right. I think though that brings us to the end of the show. Be sure to check us out at the website, realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCRP.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. We are on our personals. Marcus, you're on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParaDuxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TRUENNYSHOW. What are you guys doing this week? Anything fun?
Yeah, we this week we dropped the second part of our Fit Finley retrospective over the man's career and just what he's meant to the industry. This second part covers just WCW, WWE, and post WWE days. Man's put a lot into the industry, both on screen and behind the screen. Obviously, with a lot of work that he did with the women and stuff of that nature. So, and obviously his sons are, well, certainly one of them's prominent right now, Dave in AEW. So he's definitely contributed a lot in the check out part two.
Check that out over at the what was it called? Don't tell me. I know it. The True Penny Show podcast. There we go.
Yeah,
TRUEPENNYSHOW. That's True Penny Show. They're on Twitter. Find me on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHDSPHRTOHUT. We are also going to be on YouTube.com/Wrestling Underground and Twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. Check us out there as well. For Marcus, I'm Chad. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And as always, Marcus.
night me.